Welcome to this course on Marxism. Marxism is not only a theory of economics and politics but also a worldview that has shaped history, influenced revolutions, and competed strongly with liberal scholarship. It remains one of the most significant doctrines of modern thought, with implications across international relations, political science, sociology, and economics. In this first module, we will examine the intellectual roots of Marxism, its core doctrines, and how it explains society, politics, and economics. We will also explore how Marxism situates itself in opposition to liberalism and other competing worldviews. 1. Historical emergence of Marxism. Marxism is named after Karl Marx, the 19th-century German philosopher, political economist, and revolutionary, alongside his collaborator Friedrich Engels. Their works, most notably the Communist Manifesto, 1848, and Das Kapital, 1867, laid the intellectual foundation for what we know as Marxism. Marxism emerged during the Industrial Revolution, when rapid economic transformation created vast wealth for a small capitalist class while producing widespread poverty and exploitation for the working class. This context shaped Marx's critique of capitalism and his search for a scientific understanding of history, society, and human liberation. 2. Marxism and the materialist conception of history. One of Marx's most enduring contributions is historical materialism. This concept argues that history is driven by material, economic forces rather than by ideas or individuals alone. According to Marx, the way a society produces and distributes resources, the mode of production, determines its political, legal, and cultural superstructure. In feudal societies, land and agricultural labor shaped social relations. In capitalist societies, industrial production and wage labor dominate. Eventually, Marx predicted that capitalism would give way to socialism, and later communism. History, then, is seen as a series of class struggles, where oppressed classes challenge ruling elites in order to transform society. 3. Class struggle and exploitation. Central to Marxism is the idea that human history is the history of class struggles. In capitalism, two primary classes exist. The bourgeoisie, the capitalist class who own the means of production, such as factories, land, and machinery. The proletariat, the working class who sell their labor for wages. Marx argued that exploitation occurs because workers create more value than they are paid in wages. This surplus value is appropriated by the capitalist class as profit. This systemic inequality leads to alienation, where workers feel estranged from their labor, their products, and even from themselves. 4. Marxism as a doctrine of revolution. Marxism is not only descriptive but also prescriptive. It calls for the overthrow of capitalism through revolution, led by the working class. Marx believed that capitalism, while historically progressive, carries within it contradictions that will ultimately lead to its collapse. Key revolutionary goals include: abolition of private ownership of the means of production, establishment of a dictatorship of the proletariat as a transitional stage, eventual creation of a classless, stateless, communist society. This revolutionary component distinguishes Marxism from liberalism, which seeks reform within the capitalist system. 5. Marxism and liberalism, competing doctrines. Liberalism emphasizes individual liberty, free markets, private property, and representative democracy. Marxism critiques liberalism on several fronts. Economic inequality. Liberalism defends capitalism, but Marxism sees it as inherently exploitative. Freedom. Liberals focus on formal freedoms such as speech and voting, while Marxists argue that real freedom cannot exist under conditions of poverty and exploitation. State role. Liberals see the state as neutral, Marxists argue the state serves the ruling class's interest. Thus, Marxism positions itself as a counter-doctrine to liberal scholarship, offering a structural critique of capitalism and its political institutions. 6. Marxism in international relations. Marxism also extends into the field of international relations. It interprets global politics through the lens of economic exploitation and imperialism. Key ideas include: imperialism, advanced capitalist nations exploit weaker nations, extending class exploitation to the global level. Dependency theory, developing countries remain dependent on developed ones due to unequal trade and exploitation. World systems theory, the global capitalist system is divided into core, semi-periphery, and periphery regions, with wealth flowing from the latter to the former. Marxist international relations scholars argue that global inequality, conflict, and war are rooted in the capitalist world economy. Conclusion of Module 1. In this first module, we have explored the intellectual roots, core doctrines, and worldview of Marxism. We examined historical materialism, class struggle, exploitation, and the revolutionary goals of Marxism, as well as its critique of liberalism and influence in international relations. In the next module, we will examine applications of Marxism in practice, its historical impact, the criticisms leveled against it, and how it remains relevant in shaping global politics today.